Hey guys, how's it going? It's Mick here, obviously, and today we're going to be talking about Australia. Now, obviously, I'm Australian, and I've been in the US now for about 14 years, and so many people ask me questions about it, and I'm always happy to answer them because I love my country, and I am pretty patriotic. So we have a saying in Australia, it's Australian as Vegemite. So it's funny, like being in America, I get asked, well, things get said to me, okay? I get asked questions about certain parts of Australia and things in Australia, but then people say things to me. So the two most common things people say to me is throw another shrimp on the barbie. And number one, we don't call them shrimp, we call them prawns. And number two, they're bloody huge, all right? King prawns. So if you went to Australia and said, can I have a shrimp? Yeah, a little tiny bait shrimp that you stick on a hook and catch a bloody fish with. So I don't know, I think that saying came from some marketing campaign that they did. And yeah, throw another shrimp on the barbie was what they came up with. So anyway, we don't say it, okay?
So after I made this video, I decided to do a little research and see where put another shrimp on the barbie came from. And it was an ad campaign in 1984, and they used an Australian guy called Paul Hogan to actually do it. So here's a picture of Paul Hogan with a shrimp. I don't know why he does it. We didn't even call him that.
The two questions I most get asked are, kangaroos really just run around in the wild, like hopping around in streets and stuff? Now, the reality is they're just like deer, okay? So any kind of foresty area, that's where you're going to see kangaroos. You do see them in built-up areas sometimes, and you will see them down on the beach. So that's pretty cool stuff.
In this pic, you'll see some wallabies, but you will see kangaroos exactly like this too.
And the most common question I get asked is, does the toilet water really spin the opposite way? I mean, of all things you could ask someone, yes, it does spin the opposite way because we're on the other side of the equator. So there you go. Oh, and back to the most common things that people say. I hear, that's not a knife. Like so bloody often, it's not even funny. That's not a knife, this is a knife, from the movie Crocodile Dundee.
Yep, there it is, good old bloody Crocodile Dundee. And incidentally, the same actor, Paul Hogan, that had the shrimp on the barbie commercial, he was the actor in this movie, Crocodile Dundee.
Anyway, so those are the most common things that said to me. And then, of course, when I'm having a conversation with someone, they don't realize I'm from Australia until I start talking to them, obviously. And then they'll be like, wait, where's your accent from? And they totally disregard anything I was saying. So what we're going to do today is I'll show you a little map. So there's Australia. All right. And we're going to start with Tasmania. So I'm going to tell you a little story about Tasmania. Tasmania has a river called Franklin River. And the Franklin River basically was trying to get dammed by politicians because they wanted to set up a hydroelectric scheme. So obviously what a hydroelectric scheme is when they use a dam, just like Vegas, you've got the Hoover Dam, and the water goes through the dam and they use it to turn turbines, and that creates electricity.
Can you believe the wankers were actually going to dam this beautiful river? Just take a look at it. I don't know. Wanker politicians, all they think about is money.
So obviously the activists won, which was a good thing because it was going to destroy a lot of the Tasmanian landscape. A lot of the wilderness would have been lost, and obviously a lot of animals would have lost their lives. The two most common animals in Tasmania are the Tasmanian devil, which you've obviously seen in the cartoon, which doesn't even look anything like the real Tasmanian devil.
Here's an actual photo of the Tassie devil.
And then the Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger went extinct a while ago. Can't exactly remember the year. But anyway, she's gone.
This was the last known Tasmanian tiger, captured in 1933.
So, when I was a kid, can't remember how old, maybe 10 or 11 maybe, the parents decided to take us to Tasmania for a vacation. They put us in this little camper van. Now when we got there, we were supposed to get a camper van that was like a four-door cab that would four-door cabs had just come out. It was like all brand new and stuff. So it's just like the movies when you turn up to grab your swish-ass bloody camper van and you get this little piece of shit Bedford, which had a front seat and then a walk-through into the cab. So we actually had to sit in the camper van. And Tasmanian roads are really, really windy. So I don't know if any of you suffer from freaking motion sickness. We were sick the bloody whole time we were down there. So we started in Launceston. So we get to Launceston and the weather's beautiful. We go to Launceston Gorge and it's a really deep gorge, like and then all the way down the bottom is an Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's like beautiful. I'll see if I can find a picture of it for you.
So this is the gorge, and you can see the chairlift in the foreground. And then the next picture is the actual gorge itself and the footbridge that goes over the gorge. It's really, really beautiful down there.
So yeah, we went for a swim there. So we're swimming in Launceston, and then the very next day we're down in a little town called Queenstown.
Queenstown is a small mining town with a population of just 1,755 people.
The crazy thing is, as we're getting there, it's pissing down rain and it's sleeting like a motherfucker, right? And we were there for like a day, and we got a pizza for dinner, which took bloody hours to get, which was ridiculous. Our camper van leaked because it was raining so hard, so Dad had to buy silicone to fix that. So their bag got saturated. But as we're driving out of this place the next day, it was literally snowing. So we're swimming in Launceston an hour away, then it's snowing there. And then 2 hours later, we're down the very southernmost tip of Tasmania, and we're swimming in the ocean. So bloody crazy weather, I tell you. But so I've swam in the most southern ocean in the world. If you swam more south, you'd obviously get to the South Pole. So you can imagine how cold the water is down there. It's bloody frigid, I tell you. So anyway. So Tasmania, its capital is Hobart, and it's all the way at the bottom of Tasmania. Unfortunately, this little map I have, it's cut off, you see that? I know it's not, it's right there. So you see that little red dot? That's Hobart.
Here's a shot of Hobart, and the population of this place is about 232,000.
So there's a casino and everything there. It's pretty cool. But we spent a night there, and then we obviously went up there, up to the north. So let's get back up into the mainland. So I'm from Victoria, in the Latrobe Valley, Gippsland area is where I grew up. It's about an hour and a half east of Melbourne. So I'll just show you on the map again. All right, so there's Melbourne right there where that dot is, and that is on Port Phillip Bay. Okay, so I lived about an hour and a half east of there. Now, Victoria is awesome, okay? Here's a better shot of Victoria. So the purple is Victoria. So I spent most of my grow-up life in Victoria. We did travel around Australia a bit. Now, Victoria is cool. Where I grew up, I was about an hour and a half from Wilson's Promontory, which I've talked to you about that before, but here's what that looks like.
Just behind that tree on the right, there's a campground called Tidal River. I'm just going to tell you all about that now.
So Wilson's Promontory is awesome. It's a campground, and all the native animals you want to see in Australia are all there. Kangaroos, wallabies, wombats, koalas, emus, kookaburras, bloody rosellas, you name it, they're all there. And then of course the beach is right there, so you can go surfing. It's bloody beautiful. Probably one of the nicest camp spots I've ever been in the world. So another place that was great beaches was Inverloch.
This is Cape Patterson. It's just outside of Inverloch. Surfed here as a kid. Used to camp on the beach, have a campfire, and then surf first thing in the morning. It was bloody amazing.
Beautiful surfing there. And then my parents live in a town called Lakes Entrance, and this is what that looks like.
So Lakes is famous for its fishing. We've got a bunch of trawlers that go out during the night, and then they're docked during the day just in the port there. This is the 90-mile beach, which is literally 90 miles long. And then this last picture is me standing up the top of the road where you drive into Lakes Entrance. And this last picture is the fishing trawlers that I'd mentioned previously.
So my parents moved from a small town they lived in called Traralgon a few years ago and retired in Lakes Entrance. Now, Traralgon and Mole are the areas I grew up in, and then we moved out of town to Hazelwood North. Hazelwood North was sort of in the bush, in the sticks, if you will. So they used to ride motocross, and we'd go up the bush. But the cool thing was, about a 45-minute drive, there was a rainforest called Tara Valley National Park. And this is what it looked like.
This is the entrance to the rainforest. It's just like stepping in another world. It's fantastic. And this next picture, this is in 2015 when I was back visiting the family, and that's a suspension bridge in the park. Bloody amazing.
So that was an amazing place. You just felt like you were so far away from home when you were up there. Then about Lake Centris is about 2 hours from there, where I said the parents lived. It was the closest beach from there was about 45 minutes, but the beach was more like, you know, if you go to Florida or Destin or something like that, they're the way those beaches are. But the beaches in Wilson Sprung and Inverloch are really beautiful beaches. So you get all types of different beaches around Australia.
I wanted to mention Phillip Island. It's famous for the penguins, the fairy penguins. They come in every single night and attract thousands of tourists every day. This next picture is the Grand Prix track that Phillip Island is also famous for. And in the next picture, you're going to see Seal Rock. Seal Rock obviously has a bunch of seals coming up to it, and that's how it got its name. This next picture is just a tip of the island. You can get a surf break anywhere on this island. And here's just one of the many beaches that Phillip Island has to offer. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I used to love going there.
So, yeah. So that's basically Victoria. Now, Melbourne is the capital city of Victoria. There's some amazing things to see and do in Melbourne. It's a beautiful city, very cultured. And the craziest thing is, back in the 70s, 80s, they weren't into beautifying things. So there wasn't like a bunch of beautiful areas. Like, you go to most major cities now and you find beautiful areas.
So this first picture of Melbourne shows one of the many parks. That's actually a war memorial. And this next one, that's the Arts and Entertainment Centre. We used to go there as kids so much with the school. It was amazing. This last picture is just a long shot of the city skyline. It's actually outgrown Sydney, which is pretty damn amazing. And then this last picture is the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is famous. They play football and cricket there, and that's Australian football.
As a kid, I remember sitting on the north bank of the Yarra River in Melbourne, and I was like, man, if I had the money, I'd buy all that industrial stuff that was for sale on the south bank. Well, now the south bank of Melbourne is just rich. Huge hotels, casinos, sports stadiums. Like, it's beautiful. So anyway, so that's Melbourne.
One thing I wanted to add before we moved on is the fact that Australia actually has snow in the mountains. You know, so many people ask me about Australia and they always talk about the dryness or the beaches. When I tell them it snows there, they're like, what, really? Yeah, it does. There are 16 ski resorts in Australia with 128 ski lifts and 450 kilometres of skiing. It's truly an amazing place.
Now, 12 hours north of Melbourne is Sydney, which is up here. Let's blow this up a little bit. All right, there's Sydney. Now, just before Sydney, you'll see Canberra, okay? Canberra is where all the dickhead politicians are, and it is the capital of Australia.
So this is Parliament House in Canberra, and that's where said dickheads are housed. And this is Telecom Tower, which is just up on the top of the hill above Canberra.
But, yeah, as I said, all the dickhead politicians in Australia are there. They're all dickheads, mate. Sydney is 12 hours from Melbourne if you were to drive. Now, Sydney's obviously famous for the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That's what they look like.
The Opera House was built in 1954, and the next picture is the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and that was erected in 1932. So she's pretty old now. This last shot is just a skyline shot. You can actually see the size of Sydney from it.
Now, that Sydney Harbour Bridge is called the Coat Hanger by locals. And the fireworks display on New Year's Eve from there is incredible. Like, they spend so much money. They really should be putting the money into something else, but whatever. It's bloody spectacular. And that's right on Sydney Harbour. Sydney Harbour is really beautiful.
So here's the New Year's Eve celebration fireworks that I was referring to. It's bloody amazing. Like the harbour is beautiful. Just take a look at these pictures. They're high definition, bloody beautiful.
They have ferries that run around the harbour all day. And just across the harbour is a beautiful zoo called Taronga Zoo. Now, I'm not a real fan of zoos because I hate seeing animals locked up, but it is nice to see these beautiful animals. So, but that's that. And then there's another harbour in Sydney called Darling Harbour. And that area is so beautiful. There's a casino and everything there, much like Melbourne's South Bank. And that's pretty much the same as Darling Harbour. It used to be all industrial, and then they changed it all, and now it's beautiful. So the beaches you've heard of in Sydney, I'm sure, are Bondi and Manly. Now, Bondi Beach is I don't know, it's not spectacular. It is a really nice beach, and down in the rock areas, they have an Olympic-sized swimming pool carved into the rocks, which is what this looks like.
So this is the Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's obviously filled with salt water. So this next shot is a long shot of the Bondi Beach, and you can see how many people frequent this beach on a daily basis.
So yeah, so that's the Olympic-sized swimming pool, and Manly's just a bit of a drive down the road, where there's another really nice beach. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but the Blue Mountains are just outside of Sydney, which is what this area looks like.
The Blue Mountains are a huge tourist destination in New South Wales. Many people come from all around the world to check them out. It's just a spectacular area. You've got to see it if you ever go to Australia.
Now, the crazy thing about this area right now, it is all on fire. They're the biggest bushfires I think in the history of Australia, or known history of Australia, are going on right now, which is insane. I mean, I'll see if I can find a picture for you of the bushfires.
You'll notice the rock formation in this picture. It's the same as the first picture I posted of the Blue Mountains. And their second picture is just a long shot showing how bad the smoke is. It's actually covering most of the state now.
So yeah, pretty sad stuff that. I mean, a lot of wildlife's losing its life and that, and a lot of homes being destroyed. So anyway, moving on. So if you head to the sort of what is it? All right. So you got north. If you head this way, you're gonna get into the center of Australia. I think they say it's the driest place on earth, but that's right there. But we'll head up north, and we're gonna go up here to Queensland. All right. So that's Brisbane. Now Brisbane is the capital of Queensland. Okay. Now you can just see before Brisbane, the Gold Coast there. The Gold Coast is really touristy. It's a beautiful area. All your theme parks are up there, like Movie World, Dream World. There's a few others I can't even think. Oh, Waterworld, Wet and Wild, something like that it's called. But it's a really, really touristy area, really beautiful. So if you ever get to Australia, you got to go to the Gold Coast.
The Gold Coast is like Miami, but just much more beautiful.
You'd love it. It's only about half an hour from Brisbane, I believe. Now, let's head more north. All right. So we're going up to Cairns now. Cairns is right up, right there. Okay. Let's blow that up a little bit. There's Cairns up the top there.
Here's a beautiful picture of Cairns during the night. You will see a bunch of fruit bats flying around at night time.
Now, I know you've all heard of the Great Barrier Reef. That's up there in that area. So if you go to Cairns, you're going to be close to Great Barrier Reef. It's unreal out there. I scuba dived on that reef, but there's a little island out there called Green Island. It looks like this.
It's really a spectacular island. I mean, it looks like it should be on a bloody postcard or something. The water is crystal clear, and you will see every species of fish in that area, in that water. It is amazing.
So that island was amazing. I was like snorkeling underneath the jetty there, and it was like swimming in the world's biggest aquarium. It was bloody amazing. So ever get to Australia, you got to go up there, all right? There's so much to do. You got the Daintree rainforest up there too, which comes all the way down to the ocean. Okay, and there is this all natural resort built into the forest. It's all natural, like amazing. Beautiful thing to see. I think there's a cape up there called Cape Tribulation. I think that's what it was called.
This is Cape Tribulation. It's truly beautiful. Look at the palm trees. And the next slide is the resort I was referring to. It's so pretty there.
But that's amazing to see too. And there's a bird up there called the cassowary. And this bird is like an emu or an ostrich, you know, big bird.
So here's a shot of the cassowary. And in this next picture, you'll see how large their claws are. They actually have been known to kill people before. So you do have to be careful around these birds.
So you have those up there, and of course you have the saltwater crocodiles too. I think there's some freshwater crocs up there too. But anyway, so amazing area. Now, let's head over to the middle of Australia, right? There's Alice Springs right there in the middle, okay?
This is pretty much the dead center of Australia, and beautiful.
This perspective. By the way, Australia's as wide as the US, just in case you didn't know, and the entire continent of Europe fits into Australia. But Alice Springs, middle of nowhere. It is hot as hell out there. It's so hot, they have carports over all the parking lots. Now, Alice Springs is about 500 kilometers south of Uluru. You're probably saying, what's Uluru? Ayers Rock.
Ayers Rock is truly spectacular, and the word Uluru actually means Great Pebble in the Aboriginal language.
Ayers Rock is huge. I think they say it's as tall as the Empire State Building, and yeah, as the sun sets, it changes colors. Like, it's beautiful. You've definitely got to see that. So that's the Northern Territory, and the capital of Northern Territory is Darwin. Okay, all the fucking criminals go up there because they're like, no one wants to go up there chasing them. But Darwin is pretty hot. Like, it's bloody hot, to be honest with you. So I've been up there too.
So this is a picture of Darwin. There's a lot of saltwater crocs in that area and sharks. And this picture was in 1974. Darwin actually got leveled by Cyclone Tracy.
Now let's head south to South Australia. South Australia. That's South Australia, and that's where Adelaide. You see Adelaide right there? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. Adelaide is a very sleepy city. It's very quiet compared to Melbourne and Sydney. Now, I don't know if you guys know much about the Pontiac G8, GT, or the Chevy SS, or the GTO, the two-door car that was released in like 2003, 2004, 2005, something like that.
The three cars I just mentioned all were built here at Holden in South Australia. Holden closed its doors in 2017, and this was the very last car made. It's the same model, the VY Commodore, which is now the Chevy SS here in the US.
So those cars are all pure Australian. All they did was rebadge them to Pontiac and Chevrolet, but they're really Australian cars, and people get mad when you pull the badges off and put bloody Holden badges on it. But yeah, I've been to South Australia one time, to Adelaide. But I wanted to talk to you about this little town right out here called Coober. Now, my friend lives out there, and that's where all the opals come from that you see. Now, the crazy thing is, everyone that lives there digs their homes into the ground. Now, that sounds funny, but they're beautiful. They're like caves, but they're just decked out. It's bloody awesome. Like, my friend's house is awesome.
So here's a few pictures to illustrate what I was talking about, how they dig their homes into the earth. Now, the reason they do this, it's so hot out there, they can escape the heat. If you've ever been down in a cave during the summer, you'll know how cool it is down there. And this one is a shop front, so it's pretty amazing.
So yeah, now let's head over to the west, to Western Australia. You can see Perth over there.
Perth's a pretty sleepy city compared to the others in Australia, but look at it, it's just beautiful.
Now, Perth is where the home of the America's Cup was for a while. I can't remember if it was in 1982 or 1984 that the America's Cup was won by an Australian boat called...
The boat was called Australia 2, and the cup was taken by the Australians in 1983 in Rhode Island. It was the first time in 132 years that the cup had been taken away from the Americans.
Our Prime Minister was famous for saying, at the time, Bob Hawke, that if anyone fires anyone from not going to work tomorrow, they're a bum. Which is pretty funny because I can't imagine your president saying something like that. But anyway, Perth is a pretty sleepy city too. I have not been over to Western Australia myself. So I still have to do that. But I've been pretty much everywhere else in the bloody country. So there's, trying to find it on the map. Yep, Broome. It's right up the top there. Now, it's very isolated, dirt roads and all that stuff. But I can't imagine living in that area. Where I lived was, pretty green. And they say that, I think it's the figures about 96% of the population lives within 1 hour of the coastline, okay? So it's very barren in the middle of Australia, but there's beautiful stuff out there to see. So, you may want to venture out there if you do go to Australia. But it is a pretty amazing place. But anyway, guys, that's my country, okay? I'm sure there's a lot I missed and probably opened up a lot of questions. But I just want you guys to, look some stuff up that I was talking about today and see for yourself. But it is a bloody great place. I miss it greatly. I've only been home 2 times in the last 14 years, and once was 3 years ago, and once was 4 years ago. But I hope you enjoyed the video today, guys. I hope you got some insight, and I hope you learned a couple things. I just want to say, thanks for tuning in. And if you have any questions, well, shit, I shouldn't even say that, because you're just going to flood the comment section, and they're going to get lost, because there'll be like 20 million thousand questions. But anyway, all you need to know is it's Australian as Vegemite, mate. All right? Bloody have a bonds a rip of time. Struth, mate. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys. Well, I love yous.